The year is 2012, and the Seattle Seahawks have just signed Matt Flynn to be their quarterback. But just a few months later, they would make a decision that would alter their franchise's history in a positive way.
With the 75th pick in the 2012 NFL Draft, the Seattle Seahawks select Russell Wilson, quarterback, Wisconsin.
But we can't help but wonder, what if something else happened? What if instead the Philadelphia Eagles selected Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks selected Nick Foles? How would that change history? How would it change the Seahawks and Eagles? How does it change Carson Wentz's career? Well, we're going to find out in this episode of What If. Yo, what's up everybody, it's Redzone here. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I think you will, because I don't think there's a lot of people doing what ifs nowadays, and I think they're very entertaining. So I hope you guys enjoy this one. Also, comment down below if you have any suggestions for new what ifs to do. I'm wearing a Russell Wilson jersey for the purpose of this video, but I will say this is a what if that I had actually thought of maybe 3 or 4 years ago and never really got around to doing it because I didn't put enough time into it. And now I thought, you know what, now's a good time to go into it. You know, we're without football right now. It's a good time to start doing these. And if you have, like I said, ideas, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification icon to get notified when I upload these. But then you can comment and let me know what scenarios you really want to see. So we're going to be starting in 2012. With the Seahawks now having Nick Foles, they still start Matt Flynn for 10 games before benching him for Nick Foles. This is a downgrade for the Seahawks as now they go 6-10. A big reason for that is Russell obviously had a much bigger impact, and I would like to note that it will take longer for them to bench Matt Flynn in the favor of the rookie. So they now fall to 6-10. For the Eagles, they go 11-5 with the help of Russell. So starting in the playoffs, the Eagles make it as the 4th seed, and they end up beating the Redskins in the wild card round to advance to the divisional. But besides that, the playoffs still go just about the same. Honestly, the Falcons just beat the Eagles in the second round, and then the Niners beat the Falcons in the conference championship, which means the Niners go to the Super Bowl. Same Super Bowl happens with the whole blackout, and the Ravens still win with Ray Lewis retiring as a champ. The 2013 draft class is probably one of the worst of the last decade, so there were no significant changes, especially looking at the quarterback class of that year. Not very good at all. So the 2013 draft had very minimal changes, and none will affect this video. So moving on to the 2013 season. This is notable as Nick Foles has his best regular season, but Russell still improves their team, so they go 13-3. Remember that this is prime Chip Kelly and LaShawn McCoy era in Philadelphia, so adding a mobile quarterback like that helps them even more. In the Seahawks, although they have a worse record, still are decent, as like I said, this is Nick Foles' best season in the regular season. Obviously, he had a great playoff run in 2017 and a little bit of 2018, but this is his best regular season, so they still go 10-6 and make the playoffs. So looking at the playoffs, they start as the 6th seed, and they are able to upset the New Orleans Saints in the wild card round. Also notable is that the Eagles have the 1st seed, meaning that they face off in the divisional round. And this is where I'm going to make a little bit of a hot take, but not really. The Seahawks won it in real life, and you may be thinking, oh, without Russell, they're not going to win. Well, I think the defense is strong enough for Seattle that this is like their prime. This is their best season of the Legion of Boom. So I think that their defense carries them to victory. This is a very close matchup, but I will say in the first outing that the Seahawks beat the Eagles, with Foles beating Russell. And the same thing happens in the NFC Championship. So this happened first, which led to this.
Well, I'm the best corner in the game. When you try me with a sorry receiver like Crabtree, that's the result you're going to get.
So that repeats history. When the Seahawks go on, and like real life, I think that the defense is strong enough for the Seahawks that they're able to get a win against the Broncos. They blew them out in real life, so even with a little bit of a worse quarterback, they still would get the win. So the Seahawks win their first championship with Nick Foles, and Nick Foles gets his Super Bowl 4 years earlier than he would in real life. Only change I'd like to note in the 2014 draft is that the Vikings still get Teddy Bridgewater. They just trade up with the Seahawks for that pick. Seahawks are also very known for trading back, so this still makes sense. Looking at 2014, the Seahawks go 11-5 and the Eagles go 12-4. Starting in the playoffs here, the Eagles now have the number 1 seed and the Seahawks have the 3 seed. So the 3 seed Seahawks are able to beat the 6 seed Panthers, so they move on to the divisional round. And after the Cowboys beat the Lions in the wild card, they face off against the Eagles. Eagles are able to dominate the Cowboys, putting them in the NFC Championship, and the Seahawks end up beating the Packers. Just like real life, I think that could be a bit of an upset, as you may think that in real life the Packers got on top and then they had to come back, and you may think without Russell that might be less likely, but I still think it happens. The whole Brandon Bostic's thing still can happen too. So then we have another face-off between Nick Foles and Russell Wilson, but this time Russell Wilson will get the win with the Eagles, and he makes it to the Super Bowl as an Eagle instead of a Seahawk. But the results are the same, as at the 2-yard line, he drops back to pass, tries to throw it to Jeremy Maclin, and is intercepted by Malcolm Butler. So this still happens, and the Patriots are still a dynasty and get another Super Bowl ring. The 2015 draft is not affected much either, which be prepared, this next draft and on will have a lot of changes. But with the 2015 season upon us, the Rams decide to keep Sam Bradford. This is an interesting move, but there is no trade for Nick Foles. The Seahawks still feel pretty good about Nick Foles, as their defense is still decent, so they hold on to him, meaning there is no trade for Sam Bradford, and the Rams will try him for at least one more season. So, in the 2015 season, the Seahawks now go 9-7, and the Eagles go 11-5. So, they actually face off in Wild Card Weekend, and they beat, and the Eagles are able to beat the Seahawks. So now it is 2-1 Eagles beating Seahawks. And the Eagles then go on to face the Cardinals, who had quarterback injury issues, so they win. And against the Panthers, although the Panthers were dominant that season, I think it was 15-1, might have been 14-2, they're very dominant. I think that honestly they got a little lucky in the NFC Championship game that they played against a third-string quarterback for the Cardinals. So in this universe, I'm going to say that the Eagles actually win the game and beat the Panthers. And with that being said, Peyton had his worst year as a Bronco in his last season, and the Panthers lost, and that was partly because I don't think Cam Newton performed very well in the Super Bowl. He had to strip, sack, fumble, all of that. So I think that Russell is good enough to, even though with a little worse of a team overall, I think his quarterback play is good enough to actually get the Eagles to win. So they get their first Super Bowl with Russell Wilson in 2015. Moving on to the 2016 offseason, the Rams have given up on Sam Bradford. So instead of trading him originally to Philadelphia and they trade him to the Vikings, he signs with the New York Jets, and he will be their placeholder instead of Fitzpatrick. The Browns now have the number 2 overall pick, as the Rams still trade up to the number 1 pick to pick Goff. But because the Eagles are no longer in need to trade up for a quarterback, the Browns keep the pick, and they take North Dakota State's Carson Wentz. This is our first big draft change besides the original 2. And it's also noted Teddy Bridgewater. I had to mention him because he still gets hurt this season. But also, this is where something will happen. The Vikings originally traded a first-round pick for Sam Bradford. But with him not really available, as he will be the starter for the Jets as a placeholder, they go out and they trade for Mark Sanchez from the Broncos. This would be his final season. He is not as good as Sam Bradford, so they do not give up a first-round pick. They give up a mid-round pick, maybe late day 2 pick, to be a placeholder starter for them. So when that happens, the Browns, who originally went 1-15, get a few more wins with Carson Wentz, go to 5-11, and the Vikings fall to 4-12. With, I do think Bradford is better than Sanchez, so Sanchez falls there. They decline, so now they went 4-12, and then the Eagles go 11-5, and the Seahawks go 9-7, just squeaking into the playoffs. So they have another face-off between the Seahawks and Eagles, and this time I don't think the Seahawks are as good, so the Eagles get another win, means they're up 3-1 in the Russell Wilson, Nick Foles sort of battle. But like normal, the Falcons are able to win the NFC. The Packers-Cowboys game is the same, and then the Falcons Packers game is the same. So the Falcons go on, and 28-3 still happens in this universe. I'm very sorry, Falcons fans. In 2017, the Vikings still signed Case Keenum to a 2-year deal. And in the draft, the quarterbacks still happen the same. Trubisky goes to the Bears, Mahomes goes to the Chiefs, and the Texans go with Deshaun Watson. Maybe in another video, that could be a good one to switch around, but in this video, the quarterbacks stay the same. But now, the Vikings have a first-round pick, which they did not have originally. And that year, they took Dalvin Cook. But with their first-round pick this year, they take Christian McCaffrey from Stanford. And then, that means that Dalvin Cook falls, so we will say that he goes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the second round. I didn't pick one for the Panthers because I think that Jonathan Stewart at the time was better than what Doug Martin was. Doug Martin was still on the decline, so Dalvin Cook goes to the Buccaneers. So with the updated records, the Browns, who originally went 0-16, now go 6-10 with the help of Wentz. He's an upgrade over Deshaun Kaiser, but they're still not great. And the Vikings now, who originally went 13-3, do get an extra win with McCaffrey. I didn't want to overload it. He didn't have the most outstanding season, but he is healthier than Dalvin Cook, so I gave them an extra win. So now they go 14-2, giving them the 1 seed. Dalvin Cook gets them one more win for the Bucs, so now they are 6-10, and the Eagles are 12-4, with the Seahawks on the decline at 7-9. So 2017 goes very similarly. Looking at the schedule here, the Minneapolis Miracle still happens against the Saints, but if the Eagles beat the Vikings in real life with Nick Foles, I believe that they would with Russell Wilson, meaning that the Eagles go to the championship, and like real life, they win a Super Bowl. So that's 2 Super Bowls for the Philadelphia Eagles. That will move us on to the 2018 offseason, which now a few changes in the draft order. Saquon now goes number 1, but still to the Giants. But they just moved up a little bit as the Browns are now a little lower in the draft order because they have their quarterback figured out, which means we'll see what happens to Baker Mayfield. Jets still get Darnold, same thing just a spot earlier. But with now Baker Mayfield available, the Cardinals go with Baker Mayfield instead of Josh Rosen, which is notable. So Baker Mayfield, instead of going number 1, falls down to the Cardinals, and I think the Bills still get Josh Allen. But then the Dolphins now, at number 11, select Josh Rosen, which is ironic because now he's on the Dolphins now, but he instead starts his career as a Dolphin. And the Seahawks select Derwin James as a replacement for Cam Chancellor, as his future is now pretty much in question. The Cardinals go now up to 6-10. Because Mayfield had a highest touchdown record for a rookie quarterback, so he's much better than Rosen, so they go 6-10. 9-7 for the Seahawks, they barely squeak into the playoffs, and the Vikings now go 9-7. They win an extra game, but not enough to put them into the playoffs with Christian McCaffrey, and the Browns go 8-8. So close, but not quite there to get to the playoffs. So, double doink still happens, except now against the Seahawks. So, the Seahawks move on to play the Saints, and the Eagles are actually able to knock off the Rams in the divisional round, who normally would have gone to the Super Bowl, but I think that year that the Saints were a clearly better proven team than the Rams, except for the whole penalty, and I think at this point the Eagles would have been better than that Rams team. So the Rams lose to the Eagles, which means Eagles versus Saints, and I do think the Saints, like they should have been, go to the Super Bowl, but they still lose to the Patriots, so the Patriots win another Super Bowl in 2018. In the 2019 draft, just like 2018, a few spots move up. Nick Bosa goes number 1. Jets go number 2 with Quinnen Williams, but here's where a big change happens. Cardinals won a lot more games, so they do not have the number 1 overall pick, meaning that Kyler Murray goes to the Oakland Raiders. That's right, Kyler Murray is an Oakland Raider now. It's ironic, he plays for the Oakland Athletics, and now he's also on the Oakland Raiders. I don't know whether he tried to do baseball or both, but that is what happens there. Dwayne Haskins ends up going to the Jaguars earlier in this draft, as the Redskins are comfortable between Keenum and Fitzpatrick for at least one more bridge season before they tank. So Haskins goes to the Jaguars, which means that they don't have a need for Gardner Minshew. So ironically, Gardner Minshew goes to Seattle, where Nick Foles is. So in week 1 of the season, when Nick Foles breaks his clavicle, after 1 week, Minshew will be able to start the rest of the season for the Seahawks. Here's the updated records. The Browns now go 8-8 with Wentz. The Raiders go 8-8 with Kyler Murray. The Jaguars have a little bit of a worse record at 4-12 with Haskins. Minshew ends up leading the Seahawks to 8-8, as I think if he could lead a Jaguars team to 6-10, I think that he could, at least get to 8 there with Seahawks, nearly 9-7. But the Vikings now go 11-5 with Christian McCaffrey, and the Eagles go 11-5 with Russell Wilson. So, very similar playoffs here. We do have a Vikings-Eagles matchup. Eagles win. Then we have a Rams-Saints. Saints win in the wild card. Packers versus Saints. The Packers still win, and the 49ers are able to beat the Eagles in the divisional round. So we have the same NFC championship like usual. 49ers beat the Packers for the NFC, and that leads to the Chiefs still winning a Super Bowl. So that stays the same. So now this is a little bit of speculation, but it's a little bit of a teaser as to what would have come. The Bengals still take Joe Burrow in the 2020 NFL Draft, but the Washington Redskins now select Tua Tagovailoa. So in conclusion, if Russell Wilson was an Eagle, he would be an Eagle, winning 2 Super Bowls, and he's made it to the playoffs every single year of his career. Nick Foles is a Seahawk. He won 1 Super Bowl in the 2013 season, 4 seasons earlier than he would have in real life, made the playoffs 5 times, but he would be injured in 2019 season and be replaced by Gardner Minshew, and just like real life, at this point is when he starts to become a journeyman, and his career in Seattle is coming to a close. Carson Wentz is a Brown, making his team better, but they never gave him the great supporting cast needed to go far into the playoffs. I think now, if it's real life, if you put Carson Wentz with Odell and Jarvis, I think you start to see a actual upgrade, and maybe they start making playoffs, but up to this point, they haven't surrounded him with enough talent. Sam Bradford ends his career as a Jet, and Mark Sanchez ends his career as a Viking. Christian McCaffrey becomes a Viking because they never traded their first-round pick for Bradford, and he gives the team just a tiny bit of a boost instead of Dalvin Cook. And speaking of Dalvin Cook, he is a Buccaneer, helping improve their run game, but not many more wins. Baker Mayfield is a Cardinal, who will be better than Rosen, but not as good as Kyler. And Kyler is a Raider, who is a significant upgrade over Derek Carr, which he will be traded somewhere else. And Dwayne Haskins is a Jaguar, which is a downgrade for Minshew in 2019, but will, in my opinion, have a brighter future. And Tua will be a Redskin in 2020. That being said, that is the video for what if Russell Wilson was an Eagle. Let me know what other what if scenarios do you want to see, and if you ever want to, let me know and I can make like a Madden roster or something with this, and tell me if you want that and I can make that happen. Then we can do a franchise simulation to see what really would happen or what will continue to happen. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this one, trying to get in the what if market. So comment down below what scenarios you want to see me create. With that being said, thanks for watching.